So when we downloaded our underscores theme, we clicked that Sassify button and WordPress ready. That gave us this WooCommerce CSS, which includes a lot of classes, and I can open it. A lot of classes and styles already for us to support WooCommerce. If we install WooCommerce, it will have all these classes, so we can use them to continue to customize the store. And also it has all these folders here that allows us to use SCSS, to use all those advanced kind of nesting when we're writing our CSS rules. For you guys have like a regular, but in Web 2 you did Sass, right? Or less, you use less, right? So it's the same. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the pre-process. We need to pre-process. We need to compile those files to regular CSS at the end. But it allows us to use like variables for colors. If you remember in first class when I was trying to explain like how can we use variable for the colors, so we don't say color black, we say color and then we use the variable name. So that's not possible in regular CSS. That's why we want to use SCSS. Also nesting, and hopefully we go along and start styling stuff and you see. And because we are using SCSS, we need a tool to compile that to the regular CSS, and we used Koala for that. So all these folders here are called partials, and they are all getting all these things right here, like elements, forms, layout, all this stuff are getting called inside this style.scss. And I can open this to show you. So you see all this style.scss is doing is importing these folders and files inside. So this import variable site, it means import this file right here. So inside the folder variable site, and then find the file that is called variable site. So because we are using SCSS, we don't do the extension .scss, so we just use the name, and then that's how it's importing. For example, here import from folder forms, import forms, right? Import this. So this one probably imports this too. So that's how it's like partialized. Those are all partials. So last time we were editing straight here when I was showing you how to edit, to change the styles a little bit. We were editing straight here. That's not really what we want to do, because styles is just importing these folders. So right now what we're gonna do first, we're gonna set up our custom style sheet partial, so we can use it there for all our custom styles. So we're gonna create inside that Sass folder. Oh, before we create that, let me see.
Where is this pulling it from? Is it pulling it from online?
What?
The style the SCSS.
So here you see that style.scss.
Yeah.
That's importing all these partials right here, and
okay.
All of that is inside Sass folder. And if you don't have that Sass folder, that means when you generated underscores theme, you didn't check that button to do. I think we worked on that together, right? Okay. So just importing like here, this style.css, WordPress doesn't know about it, right? So we used Koala to pick up this file and compile it and create it into style.css that it's in our theme. So WordPress only knows about this file. So we need to tell Koala, okay, pick up this file, and this file imports all of the other ones, right? So compile this and create it style.css. So what we're gonna do today, we're gonna set up a tool that we don't have to use Koala for that. That tool will recognize when we work in any of these files. If we change any of that, it's gonna automatically compile this CSS style.scss and create this one, and WordPress will be automatically like having the newest changes for us. So it's a lot nicer solution than having Koala on the side, and then Koala can not work properly on different software, Windows or Mac or whatever. So we'll do that. So let's create our custom partial for our styles. So how we're gonna do it, we create new folder inside that SAS folder, and we're gonna call it custom, and then inside that custom folder we're gonna create file that it's called _custom.SCSS, and underscores means that it's a partial, it's not complete style sheet, it's just a part of the style sheet. So that other, so style.css is the main style sheet, but what all it's doing, it's importing these style partials. So now we need to import this our newly created custom partial. We need to import it into style.css. So when we say okay, compile this file now, it's gonna pick up our folder as well, our file as well, and create it that style.css that WordPress can recognize. So you understand what is the path here? Bilal, you got it? Good. All right. So imagine like this is we are using this SAS folder only while we're developing. As soon as we are done, we say okay, we want to compile this file into style.css, and WordPress is looking. WordPress doesn't know about this stuff here. It only looks at this. So we need, whenever we're done, just compile it into this one and we're good. So right now our custom.scss is empty, but we need to import it here so it get compiled together with the other ones. So we can just copy one of these guys, go down and say this is custom. So these comments just they're making sense for us to understand the code. And actually Gulp, when we run Gulp, it will remove all these comments, but we want them when we are working so we know what's going on. And we said okay, import, what is the folder? The folder is custom, so import from folder custom, and then the file is also called custom. So we don't need to put underscore custom.scss or any like that. We just do the custom, just the name, and then it already understands that that's partial and it's that's SCSS. So we just save that. It doesn't do anything right now, but we are preparing for having our own custom partial that we can put styles here. Eventually you can go, and if you are changing and customizing layout of your site, you can go here and find okay, is it content sidebar? Okay, I'm gonna go here and then add styles there. Depends how you want to do it. I never did that in my life, honestly. I would always like set up my own custom one or two or many folders and files, and then I would import them there and work like that. But you can also, this is meant to be for you to organize yourself, but I never did it personally. If you can do it, that's even better. So if you do typography stuff, changing fonts, you will do them here in one of these files. You add styles there, and they get compiled. But just in case it's not covered in any of these folders and you want your custom one, you can use this one. Okay, so now we need two additional folders in our theme that we will use for copying like Bootstrap stuff and custom JavaScript and stuff like that. So also for compiling process. So we're getting ready now to, when we set up our Gulp, that task manager that is gonna compile everything for us, it knows what folders and files to look for. So we're gonna create one folder that is called SRC as a source, and we're gonna put all source files here. We're gonna put Bootstrap CSS, we're gonna put Bootstrap JS, JavaScript, stuff like that. We like all source files we're gonna set up in this source folder, and we also gonna create another folder that is called dist or distribution or the one that is gonna be used by WordPress.
And that's in the root.
That's in the root of your theme, yes. Because that Gulp task manager we run inside our theme. So if you switch theme, you're not gonna have all those things, right? This is only specific to our theme. So we created SRC for our source files, and we created distribution folder for our like final files that's gonna be compiled. So what that Gulp will do for us, it will pick up these files that we will put in source, and it will compile them and put them into this distribution folder, right? That's all we're gonna do. So these ones are the ones that the raw files, and distribution will be one that WordPress will use. They will be all minified and compressed and all that stuff. Okay, so inside that source, we know that we're gonna use, for now, we will use inside that source we will use CSS and JavaScript. So we're gonna create CSS folder, and also we will create JavaScript folder. They're empty right now, but we are setting up because we know we're gonna have some external CSS files and external JavaScript files, and specifically that's gonna be Bootstrap, as we mentioned, right? Bootstrap has CSS file and it has JavaScript files, so we're gonna place them in our source folder so we can compile them all together and put them in distribution folder, and then we will tell WordPress, okay, use the one that are in distribution folder. All right, so now
Did you create the source folder right now?
yes, while you were napping.
I wasn't have my eyes open.
You have recording also, you can go back to it. But yes, we created source and distribution folders. And inside source folder, we created CSS and JavaScript folders as well, where we're gonna put our raw
Could you make
files.
it a little larger, please? That's hard to read the.
I hope I can, but I don't know, I'm not sure about this part. But it's somewhere in the settings, I never did that. Anyone knows that? I guess it's in configurations. Font size 19. That light is to wake you up. I just
I didn't
switched.
even know. I thought my eyes were okay.
That's fine. If I fall asleep, wake me up.
Just bug you on the weekend, man.
Yeah. If you think that's nice,
It's not nice.
I would prefer if you ask me now and listen now and then.
Yeah. I
You
would
know.
prefer that to online.
I try to be available on weekends as well for you guys, but yeah. Okay. Where are we? I'm gonna edit wrong site again. Okay. Okay, that's where we are. Alright, so now we are set up with this. So now we want to download Bootstrap so we can paste those files inside the source folder. So we can go to Bootstrap 4 and you go to download. You don't have to do it right now because it's gonna take a little bit to download. I don't know how fast is the internet. You can, if you want to, you can give it a shot. So you click on download. What we want to do here is to download compiled CSS and JS. We know we're not gonna edit any stuff around Bootstrap. We're gonna use it as it is, so we can go ahead and just download this compiled stuff. again, Bootstrap has CSS and JavaScript, both files we need.
These links are in the module.
They could be. If they're not, they'll be right now.
Yeah, awesome.
Alright. But you basically just Google Bootstrap 4 and go to homepage and click download, and it will take you here. So once you download this, I already did because I wasn't sure how my connection will be here, so I downloaded ahead of a time. So when you download, you will have CSS and JS files. We don't need all the files and stuff from here. All we need is one that is called bootstrap.min.css. It's not here because I already extracted it to another, so I'm gonna have to pick it up from there. But I'll show you. And that's our CSS. I'm gonna open now. Just give me a second.
So just bootstrap.min.css.
Yes, that's correct. And you place that inside your source and then CSS folder. We are getting ready to have that file there once we set up the compiling stuff, so we can pick it up and add it to the other styles in our theme. And it will make sense more as we go, so don't worry if it's right now a little bit confusing. So you downloaded the CSS, so you're gonna put source and inside the CSS folder.
So you're going to put
The bootstrap.min.css.
inside the CSS folder.
Inside.
The source folder.
Yes, exactly. And this is not mandatory. This is not how you have to name those files and folders. It just makes sense it's like a practice to name your source folders, source files or raw files like this, and just makes sense to put CSS files inside the CSS folder and JavaScript inside JavaScript. Basically, you can put them all inside source without any additional folders, but you always want to try to be organized. So if you have another developer that joins you, he can kind of pick up where, if you do stuff kind of on your weird way or something, if you figure some other way that it's not really best practice, you will have trouble getting along with other developers, and they will not like that too much. So it's just common sense, but it's not necessarily this is how you have to name. We just need to have them in our team so we can grab them and compile them later on. And you do also for your the JavaScript file, you pick up bootstrap.min.js and you put it inside source JS file. I just need that from somewhere, so I don't have to download that again. So I'm doing the same thing right now. If I can remember which one. I'm copying bootstrap.min.css inside the source for this one.
Can we drag and drop it into Atom?
I don't think it's gonna work that way. I think it will open it will open them as a new files. Try, but I don't think so. Come on, what's wrong with you? Nice. Then JavaScript, bootstrap.min.js. So So right here, I should have them. Where are they? My gosh. Okay. So you see what min means? It means it's minified. It removes all the spaces and comments and stuff that helps the browser. So you want to do that at the end. But since we're not gonna change anything right now in Bootstrap directly, we can use those minified files, right? And another file that Bootstrap needs is that popper.js. It's additional JavaScript file that Bootstrap 4 needs, and you can find it as popper.js. Let's see. Oh, there it is. It's popper.js.org, and I'll give you the. Let's see. Does it give us the popper.js? Oh, okay. Here, when you click, when you go on back on your Bootstrap download page, if you go down, it says there is a URL for that popper, and you can just copy this URL, and I can give you the file itself if you want, but this is easy way to do it. And you just open this URL in the browser, it will open that JavaScript. So once that it's open, you select all, you say Control A to select all, copy, and then you can go in your atom, in your source JavaScript file folder, and you create a new file that is called popper.js, and you paste that contents inside. You can do it that way. So it needs to be in our source JS file folder. I have different in my notes though. Yeah. Don't worry right now about downloading it though. Because it can it was giving some errors when I tried to include it in Bootstrap. So we will actually call it straight from this URL, and I'll show you how to do it later. You don't need it right now, but
yeah, I already did it.
Okay, have it there, but you can do it on, I'll tell you what you need to do in that Gulp if you want to include it, but it was giving me some errors, so I figured that we might want to try to avoid it. So that there is one way. That the way I'm gonna do it later is we're gonna call this, it's called Content Delivery Network, right? It's a CDN. So we call this URL to give us the file instead of serving it from our own server, right? We're calling different somebody's server, Google server or something, to give us, to include, same way you were including jQuery in your other Web 2, I guess, right? You say script and then you put the jQuery URL and it will include it in your site. So that's what we're gonna do here as well. But Bootstrap needs that popper.js. Okay, now we will have to, I don't know if you guys gonna use, but we want to prepare our own JavaScript file in case you want to write some JavaScript for your site, and we can place it also in this JS file, and we just call it main.js, for example. That will be our own custom code later on for JavaScript or jQuery, you know, your other libraries you want to use for JavaScript. Okay, so we are setup, we are all ready with our files and folders when it comes to raw files, to be able to compile them later on and be able to use them in our team. This will all help us later to have our team prettier, mobile friendly, all those things that we talked about. So now we need to start setting up Gulp, but before that we have two JavaScripts that we need to include in our team, and that's what I was talking about before. We need to enqueue them in our team. So the way we do that in WordPress, if you guys don't remember from the first class, we do in functions.php, and all this code is coming with the underscore team, so you don't have to really worry about. All you need to go to is this section right here where it says enqueue scripts and styles. This is where WordPress is adding external files and style sheet files, CSS files and JavaScript files. So this line right here, WP enqueue style, it's a WordPress function, and it says, okay, in the quotes, this is just a name. It's called handler. How we're gonna name that thing that we are doing inside this function. And it says, okay, get style sheet URI. This is also WordPress function. What this means, what is this line right here is telling WordPress, okay, grab style.css from root of my team. That's what it's doing. So you don't have to really understand behind the scenes what is. If you copy this like that, you can change this name though to any unique. It's called handler. It's just how you reference this style sheet in the future in your team. This is the generic, how underscores generates the name. It puts your team name and then hyphen style. So my team name is class tutorial, and it just adds hyphen style. But we can change that. Doesn't matter right now. So
Can I change it right now?
this function is already present in our team, and all it's doing, it's including in our head section of our HTML. You know how in HTML in the head section you need to call all your style sheets? That's what this function is doing because WordPress is getting generated in components. We can't really, there is no place like HTML block that you can, inject. So you need to use this function. So WordPress does that for us inside the header. It will, inside the head section, it will add, and I can show you. If you go to our page, here, and we inspect element. Let me just move this a little bigger. I'll zoom in. Or I'll try to zoom in. Why is it not zooming in? Can't zoom in this. There you go. So here, head. Let's search for it because it's a bunch of styles. So you see where, right here, this block was generated from this function is doing this thing right here. Inside the head section, you see where the head section, there is HTML, there is a head section. It's WordPress is generating all this stuff for us, and then at one point it's adding. You see there is the team folder, there is our team, there is the teams folder and our team, and then inside our team there is style.css. So it's being called to so all our styles are now included in the team, and that's all this line right here is doing. If I remove this, save, and then refresh, and I go to head, you see how everything got messed up, or it's default now. And I search here, I click Control F when I'm in console here, so I can have the search, and then when I click enter, there is no, so style.css are not loaded now, and we don't have our styles. So we need this line right here. So we need to include the same way we do JavaScript. You see how it's here, it's included JavaScript. It has a little more parameters, but it's fairly straightforward as well. Instead of WP and Q style, you use this script, this function, WP and Q script. Makes sense, right? If you want to do JavaScript. And then the same thing, you just name this unique for your theme. This being generated from WordPress underscore theme. And then it says this function right here, get template directory URI, means okay, look in my theme folder. This is basically what it's saying. Go in my theme folder and then find folder JS, which is this. No, this is our source, this one, and then find navigation.js. So it says, this thing says go to my theme and then go to JS. Okay, so we are here, and then we say go pick up this navigation.js. That's this file right here. Array is parameter that you can pass if this JavaScript file needs jQuery or stuff like that. That's more JavaScript. It's not really for this class, but I'm just explaining you what this parameter means. And then this is the version of the file. Right here is just a date. If you edit this, you would like to change the version so the browser get refreshed, because right now with the version here, once you load the page, your browser on your computer or anybody's browser on the computer will cache that, will store this file. So next time they kick the page, it will load faster because it's not gonna go to the internet to pick up the file. It's gonna pick it up from the cache of your computer. So that's why when you change this, you want to change the version so the browser loads that new stuff. And then true means load to the footer, because jQuery, I don't know how much you guys are familiar with JavaScript, but for example, jQuery needs to load at the end of the page because it needs to interact with the elements on the page. If you load jQuery on the top of the page and you say, okay, I want to work with this element, jQuery doesn't know because this element is not loaded yet, right? So you want to load your jQuery usually at the bottom. So sometimes depends on your files and stuff, on your work, what you're doing, what your JavaScript will do. This parameter right here will be, if you set true, it will load it in the footer. If you put false, it will load in the header. So that's for the JavaScript stuff. So this is how we're gonna load our Bootstrap and Popper JavaScript, right? We need to tell, we will use the same thing as here to enqueue our two files. Actually just the Popper right now, because Bootstrap we will use for different things. I'll show you in a little bit. So let's try to, the easiest way for now is just to copy this. Let me see. We can do it like that. So I'm gonna make a comment, Popper JS for Bootstrap 4, and then we use the function that is called WP&Q script. We're gonna put the kind of name for it, or the handler. Let's just put WP Popper, for example. The next parameter is the URL, and we need to navigate. If we use file in our theme, then we would have to use this function to say, okay, go in this folder and this folder. But we said we're gonna use Popper from the external URL, so our URL will be this one. And I can also post this here for now, and I'll place it in the class. Let's do it right away. I'm sorry.
I just closed that window, so it's gonna let you go straight ahead.
Okay. All right. So we need this popper JS location. We put that inside the single quotes. So that's our URL. So we're saying, okay, I wanna add this script from this URL to my every WordPress page. So every WordPress page in our theme, while we are using our theme, every page will load this file. But we need to add a couple of more things, right? We said we need, so for instead of this array, we do false. Is that true like that? I guess so. And then we wanna load it in the footer. I think we need to do this. Oh, I'm doing that. Oh, that's the.
That's just empty. Like you're not putting anything in the quotation marks after the false.
Well, that's for the version right now, but I see my notes here, and I remember why I wanted to do that. There is another WordPress function that is called WP register script. That means that you want to register some usually external script for your theme, and then you can call it, or you don't need to call it when you want. So instead of enqueue right here, we're gonna say first, we will use enqueue as well, but we want to register it first. So we want to do WP register script, and then the URL. That's the location where to pick it up from. False is the next, the other parameter. Then no version, and then we say true, which means loaded in a footer. And this.
So what is the difference between enqueue and register?
So register right now, if we save this, that popper.js will not be loaded in our pages. We just registered this URL, this JavaScript file for our theme, and now we're gonna enqueue it. And the way, because this way you can put conditional statements. You can say if it's front page, then load this file. If we do enqueue right away, it will be loaded everywhere on every page, no matter what. But this way we can now say WP. Now we can call it when we need it and where we need it. In our case, we want it everywhere on every page, but you can potentially put if in front of it and then call it just in certain conditions. So now we say WP enqueue script, and we want to enqueue the same one. The way we enqueue it is just calling it by the handler. So that was what handler means, this WP popper that I call it here. It means I can now reference this kind of name here, handler. So the WordPress will know, okay, this is the whole thing. I mean on the whole thing. But instead of writing everything, I can just use that WP popper. So inside I just say I want to enqueue this script that I named earlier WP popper. Okay, so let's go back to our site now and try to refresh and see if we have. So you see our styles are back, but let's see if we can find that popper. So there it is. I see it. You see here, there is the URL that we placed in that function, and we see that popper is loaded. So now when we include our Bootstrap, if we want to use any of the Bootstrap's JavaScript stuff, it will work properly.
I'm getting it.
So if I remove this WP enqueue right here and save and refresh, there is no popper anymore. You see, it's not there anymore. This is my footer. I'm sorry. Yes.
messed up.
And that's fine if you cannot keep up right now. You can always go back and try to do it, and I would recommend you to do it again at home. Just create another team and just do it there and activate that team in your site, and you'll see if you do it correctly.